Prayer is a way to communicate with God. Um, as human beings, we communicate with God. We communicate with each other through facial expressions, through gestures, pointing, using our hands, writing, drawing, even technology. We send text to one another. So we also want to make sure we have eye contact. When we have eye contact, then we can see. We want to see that person because we're always moving back and forth. To, if someone stands in front of you, like, "Excuse me, I'm talking to that person. Get out of the way." And so, one of the other things that we do is that we talk and we listen, because if someone is having communication with you and they're just talking, and you're not getting a word in edgewise, then that means there is no communication going on right there. So my question, ladies, today is, what does God require as far as communication?
So God does require definitely talking. That is one of the things that we begin. But like I've said in the past, there is such a development in prayer lives. I remember there were times where I would just go in prayer and basically just cry and be in awe, basically, that I was in the presence of God. But prayer does have to begin to take shape and form, and it begins to develop as we become insistent on prayer. And so, yes, I do feel that there is some body movements that God loves. He loves when we raise our hands. He loves when we clap our hands. He loves when we cry. He loves when we lift our voice. He loves when there is a demonstrative approach to his throne. Of course, first it has to happen in humility, because he is a big God. And so we have to approach that throne room with humility. But yes, there is a lot of talking and a lot of listening. Now, I've in my prayer life, I feel that there has been a lot of talking, and there has been listening, but the listening is not always at prayer. He doesn't always give me an immediate answer. Sometimes he's given me an answer as I continue to meditate on the situation and bringing it to him and talking to him in my spirit. He'll give me the answer to what it is that I am seeking the Lord for. So it does take all of us, all of our body, all of our expression, all of our emotion, all of our passion, all of our sensitivity, all of our humility to enter into that room. And it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. So there is a development in our approach to God.
I'd have to say, kind of to go off of what Sister Patsy said, there's different forms of praise and worship and communication, physically, vocally, and then in just also the spirit realm. There was this older woman that spoke at a conference we were at a few years back, and the Lord required of her, specifically asked her, because she began to fall in love with God just so much more deeper than she ever thought she could. And he said, "I want you to sing for me every morning. I want you to sing for me." So she started doing that, and he goes, "Now I want you to sing and dance for me." Mm-hmm. But I think it was, though, that she was dancing with him. But also what a lot of kings require sometime is to not be entertained, but to be moved by someone and their worldly performance or spiritual movement. sign language, even praise dancers, which I feel that if we don't shout it out and dance for him and glorify his name and lift up, because not everybody has a sweet sound, and that's okay, but we are serving and giving to our God, and that's a communication. Now, sometimes when we're praying and singing, it can almost come off as the same thing. I noticed that even when in my own prayer life, that I'll begin to just sing and I can't move forward, and it's almost like I have to sit here and I have to sing for him because he gave me this gift ability, and then I have to use it. And even if I couldn't sing, I'd still try because the word says to make a joyful noise. Mm-hmm. So I think it's also, like you said, we lift our hands and all this, but to bow and to sit, and like I told you before, to soak in his presence. Mm-hmm. There's something about just sitting there and laying at his feet and not knowing what's going to happen and being okay with that. Mm-hmm. Being okay, just knowing that he is going to hold you as a father embraces you. And that communication physically, to bow, before the throne, before him, it's a communication, like she said, of humility. And I think a lot of people struggle even recognizing pride and arrogance. And we see it in a lot of, I'm not going to say our leadership, but going to camp and seeing that, you see a lot of sensationalism, like you said. So they are trying to bring attention to in that moment. And you can tell that behind closed doors, it's not there. So, and you can tell communication outside of just church it translates in the physical when you are praying or interceding for anybody that needs it right then and there, right there. Because I've told her that I was watching this video, and this man, really great teacher, he said the more time in the spiritual, the less time you have to deal in the physical.
That's good.
With people. So healings immediately, deliverance immediately. So the more we commune with the Lord is important for our everyday life as believers. And people will see the signs because we commune with him and we're filled up. Mm-hmm.
So communication, being a way to talk to God and tell him or ask him or seek him, is a big part of prayer. Okay, so what would you tell someone that is first time? I've never spent time, I don't know, who is this God? What do I do? What are my steps? What are my steps?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
the first thing is to teach them how big God is, and that's going to take a long time. God is not going to get any bigger. He's already as big as he is, but our understanding of God can grow, can get bigger. Mm-hmm. And mostly just leading them, like first of all, coming to the altar, leading them in prayer, helping them take those little steps. And we don't have to labor too long in that because they're already feeling the presence of God, and you cannot deny that. So that's a good thing. But yes, we can put words so that they can hear what prayer should be like, or that entrance into the presence of God. So I think that as new people come in, and as us older, we can teach the babies that are coming, or the new people that come in for the first time, or just coming in and don't know too much about the Lord. So it's just living life. And like she said, if we're going to worship God, there's something about shallow worship, and there's something about genuine worship. There's substance. There's substance with genuine worship. A shallow worship is just shallow. It's just jumping and shouting and screaming. That's all good, because we want to make sure we're not locked up in a box. But there's got to be that spiritual connection with God that moves, not just to be jumping, but jumping with not sensationalism, but jumping with substance. Jumping, with the heart, with knowing we serve a big God. And so with our little ones, we've got to train them. And it does take time, but let me tell you, it's not long in comparison to the natural. The natural, our babies are born, we have to feed them, we have to clean them, we have to, everything for them. Then in 3 months, they're already trying to roll over, trying to sit, trying to walk, get to foods, things like that. In the natural, it's mainly a good segment of time. In the spiritual, it really can be accelerated, depending on the desire of the person, removing distractions. And let me tell you, there's something about the distractions that we have that God will begin to speak to us. And when he begins to speak to us about the distractions that we're in currently, he will begin to say, you know what, this is getting in our way, and sometimes, especially as a new convert, we can kind of like ignore it and just go on, and God will continue because he wants that relationship with every person. No one is exclusive to God. He's not a respecter of person. That means that he's not going to talk to me over you or over you. He wants to speak to all of us because we're all his daughters. So there's not one that's going to be greater than the other. He wants connection with every one of his human beings that he brought on this earth. And he will take the time to show you if you listen and if you're able to be taught.
For new babes in Christ, someone who's never experienced a move of God, it's so hard to translate to someone who's never experienced that. But I think it's through connection, having a connection to that person, through discipleship and teaching them. It's just a conversation you have with the Lord. It doesn't have to be an extravagant prayer. When you're alone, just like, hey, Lord, I know it's you. Keep me, guide me. And it's really, really basic. Really, like she said, milk. It's very, very, very basic until you get to the point where you're more understanding of a format of prayer. And then also that if they do feel the presence of the Lord, to not just be whining. So to really connect with the Lord outside of just the church setting, but also I think it's really important that people, seasoned saints, that we have a contagious spirit, a spiritual peer pressure, a good peer pressure to lift our hands, to worship, to clap, to get up and jump. But of course that has to be from your heart. But if we all were to get on one accord, that's contagious, and they start to feel and experience God through the worship of others. I know on Sunday I just saw Sister Esther and I just broke down. I mean, I love seeing that. I'm not just one of those people that cry when it's my family. I rejoice through anyone's victory. And when anyone is touched, especially children, I really get touched. I noticed that Sister Marcia Sweet, she actually started coming to our church because the young kids were so touched, and I was amongst those kids. And she said the sincerity that those children had, she wanted them for her future children. She was not even pregnant yet. She wanted them for her future children. So us just entertaining the Lord and showing people who have not experienced that, it's contagious, but also they can see it and they feel something. As much as they try and fight it, they feel something.
That's good. So my last question is that, when you have a friend that continually says the same thing, he's trying to communicate, or she's trying to communicate to you something that a disaster is happening in their life, and they just can't seem to get it to you. They just keep saying the same thing over and over and over. And I know it makes you feel a certain kind of way, but think about not only think about how it makes you feel, but relate that to God.
Okay, so one of the things that I know the Lord has been talking to me about is not to be led by the spirit of fear, not to be led by the spirit of worry, even though at times I have felt that when I had a burden to fast, it was concerned, worry. It was a burden, and a burden means it's something heavy on you. So, and I know that God has placed those at times in my life. I know that He has given me the strength to go through fasts, long fasts, that I know I couldn't do on my own. So I know that I will, with every situation that I face, God is teaching me how to go through it. There are some things that I have to override fear, and I cannot approach the throne room of God with fear. Fear is not of God. So that's what He's teaching me right now. But I know that there are times when the enemy comes, and not that I'm afraid of him. I'm not afraid of the enemy. But when he comes, he tries to intimidate. He tries to bully. He tries to speak to me like I am the girl, the little girl down the block. And that's when I have to rise up with that fighting spirit in me, because you know what? He's already defeated. He is already defeated, and I rise up in the name of the Lord, just like David and Goliath. David never called him a giant, but he was a man that was perturbed over the situation of this man talking against his God. But there are some things about having a passion for the Lord and learning to be led by God, learning to be moved by the Lord and not by the things of the past. So everything to me in my short life has been a journey, and a learning journey, and an exciting learning journey. So it has been some things that we're all going to be at different areas in prayer, in learning, and in adapting, because not everybody adapts quickly. There is a standard of where we should be, but we're all walking in that area to walk towards the Lord. So I want to walk in obedience, and whatever God is trying to teach me, I have to learn it. And so that's basically where I'm at. I want to be led by the Spirit of God, but I don't want to allow fear to press on me. I want to know and trust God completely, because I do trust God, and He's trying to show me complete trust in Him, that I will not be moved by the enemy or his lies or people. So that's where I'm at in my walk with the Lord, and wherever He's taking me, I know He's taking me to a good place. So I'm very grateful.
What was the question again?
When a friend continually says the same thing over and over, and how does it make, and it makes you feel a certain kind of way, but relate that to God.
Well, I get annoyed, but but just I guess that would be one-sided. It would be a one-sided thing for a friendship with someone that is more than you, so you're trying to impress, or you know what I mean, or I call it beating a dead horse too. A lot of times you don't really want advice, you really don't want an answer, you don't want victory too much, you just want to complain.
Oh my goodness.
And whine. And you want to whine, but to really want to be a friend of God is to relate to Him and to experience that. He experiences it on a daily basis of people not knowing, like, oh no, I shouldn't be doing that. I should not be sitting there wallowing in my grief, or not knowing that He already has it figured out for you. And just like a friend, I can call him up, and I feel like He does that to us at 3 a.m. when I'm asleep. But you know, I've had a lot of friends do that. Call me up, want to complain, and I said, you know what? I said, you either want change or you don't, because change starts to happen through action. And I mean, fruits of the Spirit goes a long way. So if we don't have joy or peace that passes all understanding, even in my situation, what are we doing? We are not praying correctly, and I'm guilty of that. Growing up, you're the pastor's daughter. You're supposed to know. No, not a lot of times we're not listening. I wasn't. But I've had to grow, and I've had to sit and wait on the Lord. And I mean, even in my own relationship, why, God? Why did you do this? Why did you let this happen to me? Why? And I usually respond to a lot of people. I've said this to my mom. Do you really want to know why? Or haven't I asked you that? Because no, she don't want to know. And that's what I had to do with the Lord. I really don't want to know why. I really don't know. I don't know where He would have left me if He allowed me to make those decisions. But now I'm like, Lord, like, why did you not let me, but you let them? Woo! And that, now it's almost like I've changed my why. I'm like, wow, He really loves me. He said, no way, Jose. And I'm not saying I'm superior, or you know, people are inferior of me, but I'm like, He really blocked that thing. He blocked that thing in my life. He brought me better. And I'm just blown away by who God is and how He is to His people. And the whole time I was going through my situation, I was in prayer, but I was also stuck. And I could not see past that for a very, very long time. And the why, I mean, how annoying is that? Why? Oh my Lord. So it's like, now it's like, whoo, wow. He really brought me a long way. And instead of why, it was like, why not? Why not? Because He needed me to do better and greater things this way and not this way, because we have a choice. We have a choice. He gave us a will. We got to submit our will back to the Lord. I mean, that was the whole point of giving us a will. Well, give it back to me.
Right.
Give it back to me. Just
Right.
like baby dedication. I'm going to give you this baby. Now give the
Give it
baby
back.
back to me. He's an Indian giver. But he's an ultimate giver, and he gave his life. And that is the biggest sacrifice a friend, a loved one can do, is sacrifice themselves, their lives. And I think once we realize that, then the whys and the hows and the whens and the wheres, they will cease and they will stop, and you will understand, okay, God, I'm just going to follow. And it becomes so much easier once you get it in your brain. Once you understand that. All right, Lord. Okay. Oh, that wasn't for me. Bye. Instead of, well, why?
Right.
How? Where? Jezebel. We're moving past that.
What's your final comment on prayer as a way to communicate?
I'm gonna go first.
Yeah. So I'd have to say, now, being a new mom, you just get into mom mode right away, just from the beginning of the day. But then the Lord will just smack me in my face. A really good smack, almost like a snatch. Like he'll snatch me out of my thoughts. And I'll just sit there and I won't even like ask for anything. I'll just think about him, and just like, you're so good, and wow, I'm just so astonished with your power, and communicating to him, and just, letting him know, because that's in a marriage too, like, I love you. You are so good. You are so great. And when I'm faithful like that and loyal to him, he's going to do that right back. And you see that within your life and the fruit. Now, sometimes you go through it and everything's stripped away, like a Job. But he did not waver. And even with his spouse, like, just deny it, just talk down to him. No. So now when I'm really needing God to intervene, and I need to leave it alone. Now sometimes I need to pray for a few months because it bothers my spirit so much.
Right.
And because I don't want to go to hell for you, sir, ma'am. I'm not doing that.
Right.
I'm going to pray until I can look that person in their eye, love them, and pray for them. Pray for your enemies. Pray for people that don't like you, that you don't like. But also not just focusing on your immediate family. Focus on your church family, because they really need someone to intervene for them, and they're not even aware of what is around the corner awaiting them. I mean, there's so many young people of God their lives are being taken away from stupidity, drunk drivers, and different stuff like that. Now, that was their time. If that was their time, that was their time. Their time on earth was done. But if we had some old-time grandmothers intervening for us,
Right.
I would not be here without the prayers of my parents. I just wouldn't. So covering our children, communicating with the Lord, prepares our children. Even they're so innocent, they don't even know how to pray. But covering them, this lady was a witch. She said that she could not enter into homes spiritually because the children were laying in blood, laying in the blood of the Lamb.
Oh, my Lord.
And these innocent kids do not know how to pray, but the parents do. and that they said that the homes were vibrating. They could not even focus. They could not enter. And I think God is looking for us to anoint our homes and to communicate with him, because there's so many spirits that try and linger and they try and enter, and I'm like, oh, no way. Of course, being in my area, I'm like, I anointed all areas of my house, and I just try and communicate and keep that open communication with him. But I cannot communicate if I do not open my mouth, and that is something that people, they want to pray in their brain or in their thoughts, and that's not good. So that doesn't get you anywhere.
Nope.
So, doing it right then and there. I mean, Dash will just start to worship the Lord, and especially when he hears his songs and stuff, and playing worship music, really gets you almost in tune and creates a setting for your home, peaceful setting, and letting him just kind of lead and guide you, and you become a little bit nicer. So I think it's a constant thing, and especially with busy life. Life is busy, so creating that atmosphere allows for you to kind of remember, like, okay, we got to give thanks to the Lord. Like, he is good,
He is good.
Singing to him, that's what I like to do. And Dash loves to do it too. And John will even join it. He'll be at work crying and lifting up the Lord. And I'm appreciative for that the Lord will fill our house where we are, even though we still need the church, though.
Amen.
Well, definitely the very basics of relationship with God and a growing, thriving walk with God is looking for time, making it, adapting to it. Because yes, when I was a mom of young babies, there's got to be sometimes you can work a schedule, but sometimes it has to be spontaneous, because those schedules can be blown out the window in a moment.
Yes.
And so you have to have your mind on the Lord, and not every day are you going to be spiritual. So it is a point of cultivating. But one thing that's good about a young mom is you need God. You need God every day, every moment of the day.
On my last straw.
Every moment. But you know what? It doesn't stop there. There is now, then you go into the toddler, then you go into the school age, then you go into the preteens, where it's very confusing. Then you get into the teens, and then you get to the young adults. And it's just a constant, once you have kids, and that's one of the things I thought about when I would get pregnant, of like, for the rest of their life, until God takes me, I'm their mother. They are my responsibility. And that really, really, really put it in my heart to be a woman of prayer. Now that my kids are parents, and they still get me on my knees. They still get me on my knees to pray for them, and I pray for them every day. But finding a place to pray, finding a time to pray, making it, like you said, playing worship music, it will help you to get the Spirit of God moving in your home, to give a different feeling in the home. And wherever you are, be in a mode of worship, be in a mode of prayer, be in a mode of listening to the voice of God, but making time to be accessible to God. Sometimes I had to pray late at night. Once all of you kids were in bed, I had to pray late at night. It never worked mornings, because I was not a morning person at that time. I am a morning person now, but that was due to the Lord. He changed that. That is a hard thing to change on my own, because it can make me resentful, very grumpy. But it was the Lord that started changing it. I am grateful, started changing me. So I am totally grateful to the Lord. I have more productive days, but what what it was back then, it was, and that's it. But so today I'm grateful for this new era in my life, and just making time, setting a place where you're comfortable. Sometimes you have to praise and worship in the living room. Because your kids need you, or you're watching your kids, or whatever. Sometimes it just happens that way. But if you can get into that private place with the Lord, that would really, really be a adventure, wherever it is, wherever you're at. You could be. Sometimes I'm driving down the road, praying and speaking in tongues and talking to the Lord and just enjoying Him, just enjoying His presence. So make it a lifestyle, and change some things around so that you can easily get in the presence of God. Because at a drop of a hat, you might need something, and you be in the presence of God, so it will not be a foreign thing. To talk to the Lord like, I haven't talked to you in a year, but make it an easy entrance. And if you have that kind of prayer life, it is easy to enter into prayer with the Lord, and we need it. We need it every day. So I'm grateful to the Lord for everything that He's done for us. And I am very grateful for you ladies, and I'm grateful for all the ladies in our church. And God is good, and look for that place that you can have that relationship with God.
Amen.
And these are the weapons that we need.